The alarm bells rang through Kepler Station like thunder in a metal box. Jake Martinez grabbed his rifle and ran down the corridor, his boots making loud sounds on the metal floor. He was a Marine sergeant, and he had seen many battles before. But this one felt different. The enemy had come too fast and too strong. "All civilians to the escape pods now," Jake shouted into his radio. His voice was calm, but his heart was beating fast. The Vextai had found them. These alien creatures were mean and dangerous. They had sharp teeth, green skin like snakes, and weapons that could burn through anything. Jake's squad was small today, only 5 men with him. They had to protect the whole station while everyone else got away. The station was important because it was the last human post in this part of space. If they lost it, the aliens would have a clear path to attack human worlds. "Martinez, we got problems in Section 7, came a voice through his radio. It was Lieutenant Ben Carter, his best friend since training school. "The bugs are coming through the main door. We can't hold them much longer." Jake looked at his men. They were scared but ready to fight. "You heard him, boys. Let's go help Carter's team. Stay close and watch each other's backs." They ran through the empty hallways. The lights were flashing. Red and smoke was coming from some rooms. Jake could hear the sound of laser fire getting closer. The Vextai weapons made a strange buzzing sound when they fired. It was a sound that made his skin crawl. As they turned a corner, Jake saw something. That made him stop. There was a woman in a white lab coat standing in front of a door. She was trying to open it, but her hands were shaking too much. She had long black hair and glasses. She looked terrified. "Hey, you need to get out of here," Jake called to her. He ran over to where she was standing. "The escape pods are the other way." The woman looked up at him with big brown eyes. "I can't leave my research. I have important data about the alien plants. If the Vextai get it, they might use it against." "U.S. What's your name?" Jake asked. He could hear the alien weapons getting closer. "Dr. Lila Chun. I study plants from other worlds. Some of them might help us make new medicines. I need to save my computer files." Jake looked down the hall. He could see the green glow of Vextai weapons reflecting off the walls. They had maybe 2 minutes before the aliens got here. He should order her to leave right now. But something in her eyes made him want to help her. "How long do you need?" he asked. "Just 2 minutes to download everything to my portable drive." Jake nodded. "Do it fast. My men and I will watch the door." He turned to his squad. "Set up a defensive line here. Nothing gets through to the doctor." His men moved quickly. They had worked together for 3 years. They knew what to do without being told. Private Danny Walsh took position behind a metal crate. Corporal Nike Stevens lay down with his big gun, pointing down the hallway. The other men spread out to cover all the possible ways the aliens could come. Dr. Chun ran into her lab and started working on her computer. Jake could hear her typing very fast. A sound of the alien weapons was getting much closer now. He could also hear the strange clicking sounds that Vextai made when they talked to each other. "Contact front," shouted Private Walsh. "I see them. Coming." Jake looked down the hallway and saw the first Vextai warrior. It was tall, maybe 7 feet, with green skin that looked like armor. It had a long tail and yellow eyes that glowed in the dark. In its hands was a weapon that looked like a silver stick, but Jake knew it could shoot laser beams that would burn through anything. "Fire," Jake ordered. His men started shooting. Their bullets hit the alien, but it didn't fall down. The Vextai had thick skin that could stop most human weapons. The alien raised its weapon and fired back. A bright red laser beam shot past Jake's head, so close he could feel the heat. More aliens came around the corner. There were at least 10 of them now. Jake's men kept shooting. but they were running out of bullets fast. The Vextai were moving closer, using the walls and doorways to hide from the human guns. "How much longer, Doc?" Jake called over his shoulder. "Almost done. Just 30 more seconds." One of the aliens got close enough to hit Corporal Stevens. With its laser, Stevens screamed and fell down. His uniform was smoking where the laser had hit him. The smell of burned cloth and skin filled the air. "Stevens is down," shouted Walsh. "We need to fall back." Jake looked at his men. They were good soldiers, but they couldn't fight this many aliens with these weapons. If they stayed much longer, they would all die. But if they left now, Dr. Chun would be killed for sure. "Got it," Dr. Chun called from the lab. "I have all the files." "Then let's go," Jake said. But as he turned to look at her, he saw something that made his blood turn cold. 3 Vextai had come from the other direction. They were behind Dr. Chun, blocking the way to the escape pods. The aliens raised their weapons. Jake saw the silver, sticks starting to glow red. In 1 second, they would fire. Dr. Chun would die, and all her important research would be lost. Without thinking, Jake jumped forward. He threw himself between Dr. Chun and the aliens just as they fired. 3 laser beams hit him at the same time. One hit his chest, burning through his armor like it was paper. Another hit his left arm, and he felt the skin start to burn. The 3rd laser hit his face, and suddenly he couldn't see out of his right eye. The pain was like nothing he had ever felt before. It was like being hit by lightning and burned by fire at the same time. But Jake didn't fall down. He grabbed Dr. Chun and pushed her toward his men. "Get her out of here," he shouted. His voice sounded strange because part of his face was burned. More laser beams hit him. This time they got his back and his right leg. Jake fell to his knees, but he kept his body between the aliens and Dr. Chun. The pain was so bad he could barely think, but he wouldn't move. "Martinez," he heard Ben Carter's voice on the radio. "We're coming to help you." Suddenly, the hallway filled with the sound of human guns. Carter and his men had arrived. They were shooting at the aliens from behind, and the Vextai had to turn around to fight them. This gave Jake's men the chance they needed. "Move, move, move," shouted Walsh. He and the other men grabbed Dr. Chun and started running toward the escape pods. 2 of them also grabbed Jake under his arms and started dragging him. Jake tried to walk, but his legs wouldn't work right. The laser burns were all over his body now. He could feel his skin burning, even though the aliens had stopped shooting. Everything was getting dark, and he could taste blood in his mouth. "Stay with us, Sergeant," someone was saying. "We're almost to the pods." Jake wanted to answer, but he couldn't make his voice work. The last thing he remembered was seeing Dr. Chun's face looking down at him. She was crying, and her lips were moving like she was saying something important. But he couldn't hear her words over the sound of his own heart beating slower and slower. Then everything went black, and Jake Martinez didn't know anything else. Jake woke up in a white room. Everything was bright and clean. He tried to move his arms, but they felt heavy like they were made of stone. His whole body hurt in a way that made him want to go back to sleep forever. "Don't try to move yet," said a voice. Jake turned his head and saw a man in a white coat. The man had gray hair and kind eyes. "I'm Dr. Alan Price. You're on the medical ship UCS Horizon. You've been sleeping for 4 days." Jake tried to talk, but his throat was too dry. Dr. Price gave him some water through a small tube. The water tasted good, but swallowing hurt. "Where's Dr. Chun?" Jake asked. His voice sounded rough and quiet. "She's safe. She's actually been here every day, waiting for you to wake up. Would you like to see her?" Jake nodded. Dr. Price left the room and came back with Dr. Chun. She looked tired, like she hadn't been sleeping well. When she saw Jake's eyes open, she started to cry. "I'm so sorry," she said. "This is all my fault. If I had left my research, you wouldn't have been hurt." "It's not your fault," Jake said. "I chose to protect you. That's what soldiers do." Dr. Chun sat down in a chair next to his bed. "The aliens burned you very badly. Dr. Price says you're lucky to be alive. Your heart stopped twice during the surgery." Jake looked down at his body. His chest and arms were covered in white bandages. He could see some red marks on his hands where the laser beams had hit him. "How bad is it?" Dr. Price came back into the room. "The laser burns cover about 30% of your body. We were able to save your life, but the scars will be permanent. The HFY weapons do something different from normal burns. They leave behind tiny pieces of crystal that keep the wounds from healing properly." "What does that mean?" Jake asked. "It means you'll always have scars, and they might hurt for the rest of your life. The crystal pieces cause swelling and burning feelings that normal medicine can't fix." Jake felt something cold in his stomach. He had seen other soldiers with bad scars before. Some of them never got better. They lived with pain every day and couldn't do the things they used to do. Dr. Chun leaned forward. "I want to help you. I know about alien plants and chemicals. Maybe I can find something that will help your burns heal better." Dr. Price shook his head. "Dr. Chun, I appreciate your offer, but this is beyond plant medicine. These are very serious injuries." "Please let me try," Dr. Chun said. "I have studied healing plants from 12 different worlds. Some of them can do things that human medicine can't do. I owe Jake my life. I want to help him get better." Jake looked at her face. Her eyes were very serious, and he could tell she really wanted to help him. "What would you do?" "I need to study the crystal pieces that the laser weapons left in your skin. If I can understand how they work, maybe I can find plants that can break them down or neutralize them." Dr. Price looked worried. "That could be dangerous." "We don't know what might happen if you mix alien plant chemicals with human medicine." "I'll be very careful," Dr. Chun said. "I'll test everything on skin samples first, and I'll work with you to make sure it's safe." Jake felt a small bit of hope. "Dr. Price, what do I have to lose? You said the pain might last forever with normal treatment." The doctor thought for a moment. "All right. But Dr. Chun, you have to promise me you'll follow all safety rules. And if anything goes wrong, we stop immediately." "I promise," Dr. Chun said. Over the next week, Jake learned more about his injuries. The laser burns had gone deep into his skin and muscle. Some of the scars were on his face, making him look different from before. When he looked in a mirror, he almost didn't recognize himself. The worst part wasn't how he looked. It was the pain. Every day, his scars felt like they were burning. Sometimes the pain was so bad he couldn't sleep. The medicine Dr. Price gave him helped a little, but not enough. Dr. Chun set up a small laboratory in a room next to Jake's medical room. She worked there every day, studying samples of his burned skin under a microscope. She also had containers full of different plants and chemicals from alien worlds. "Look at this," she said one day, showing Jake a picture on her computer screen. "These are the crystal pieces the HFY weapons left in your skin. They're very small, but they're still active. They keep sending out tiny amounts of energy that hurt your healthy skin." Jake looked at the picture. The crystals looked like small pieces of glass, but they were glowing with a faint red light. "Can you get them out?" "Not by cutting them out. There are too many, and they're too small. But I think I can find a way to make them stop working." Dr. Chun showed him several plant samples. "This one is from a planet called Ashara Prime. The plants there grow in soil that has natural crystal formations. They've learned to make chemicals that can break down crystals." She picked up another sample. "This one is from Earth, but it's been changed by growing in alien soil. It might be able to carry the crystal-breaking chemicals deep into your skin. When can we try it? Jake asked. I need another week to test it and make sure it's safe. But Jake, I want you to know that even if this works, it will take a long time. I'll have to put the medicine on your scars every day for maybe months. You would do that for me? Dr. Chun's face turned a little red. You saved my life. You took those laser burns to protect me. The least I can do is try to help you heal. Jake felt something warm in his chest. It wasn't pain this time. It was something else. Thank you, Lila. It was the first time he had used her first name. She smiled at him, and for a moment, the pain in his scars didn't seem so bad. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. Not because of the pain, but because he was thinking about Dr. Chun. She was working so hard to help him. She could have gone back to her regular job, but instead she was spending all her time trying to find a way to heal his burns. He had known many people in his life, but he had never met anyone who cared so much about helping others. Most people would have said thank you and moved on with their lives. But Lila was different. She felt responsible for what had happened to him, even though it wasn't her fault. The next morning, Dr. Chun came to his room with a small container of green liquid. I think I'm ready to try the first test. This is a very weak version of the medicine. I want to put just a tiny bit on one small scar and see what happens. Dr. Price was there too. He looked nervous but interested. Remember, if there's any bad reaction, we stop immediately. Dr. Chun put a drop of the green liquid on a small scar on Jake's hand. At first, nothing happened. Then Jake felt a cool sensation, like ice water on his skin. The burning feeling in that spot went away completely. How does it feel? Dr. Chun asked. Good, really good. The pain is gone. Dr. Price checked Jake's hand with several medical instruments. His vital signs are normal. The skin temperature is down. I think it's working. Dr. Chun smiled bigger than Jake had ever seen her smile. It's working. Jake, I think we can really help you get better. For the first time since the battle, Jake felt hope. Maybe his scars would heal. Maybe the pain would go away. And maybe, just maybe, he could have a normal life again. But even if the medicine didn't work, he knew something important had happened. Layla Chun cared about him enough to spend weeks trying to help him heal. That meant more to him than any medicine ever could. 3 weeks had passed since the first test with the green medicine. Lila worked in her laboratory every morning, mixing different plant chemicals and testing them on small pieces of Jake's burned skin. She was getting better results each day. I think I have the right mixture now, Lila said as she entered Jake's room. She was carrying a larger container of the green liquid, but this time it looked thicker, like honey. This version should work much better than the first one. Jake was sitting up in his bed, feeling stronger than before. The small scar on his hand where Lila had put the first medicine was almost completely healed. The pain was gone, and the red angry color had faded to a light pink mark. Dr. Price says I can start walking around the ship today, Jake said. My legs are feeling better. That's wonderful news, Lila said. She sat down in her usual chair next to his bed. But I want to start the real treatment now. This will take much longer than the test. I'll need to put the medicine on all your scars every single day. How long will it take? Leela looked serious. Maybe 2 or 3 months. And I'll have to be very careful with each scar. Some of them are deeper than others. Some have more crystal pieces. Each one needs different amounts of medicine. Jake nodded. I understand. When do we start? Right now, if you're ready. Lila opened her container and showed Jake the thick green liquid inside. It smelled like flowers and something else he couldn't identify. This has 3 different plant medicines in it. One breaks down the crystals. One helps your skin grow back healthy. One stops infection and reduces pain. She put on thin gloves and dipped a small brush into the medicine. I'm going to start with the scars on your chest. These are the biggest ones. They might take the longest to heal. Jake lay back on his bed and let Lila remove his bandages. His chest looked terrible. The laser burns had left long red marks that looked like angry snakes crawling across his skin. Some spots were raised up like small mountains. Other spots were sunken in like valleys. Lila didn't make any face when she saw the scars. She just started working. She painted the green medicine on each scar very carefully, making sure to cover every bit of damaged skin. The medicine felt cool and soothing. The burning pain that Jake lived with every day began to fade away. This feels amazing, Jake said. It's like the fire in my skin is going out. The plant chemicals are neutralizing the crystal energy, Lila explained as she worked. But it will take time for your body to heal the damage that's already been done. The treatment took almost 2 hours. Lila painted medicine on Jake's chest, his arms, his face, and his legs. She was very gentle and careful. Her hands were steady, and she never missed a spot. When she was finished, Jake felt better than he had since the battle. The constant burning pain was gone. His skin felt normal for the first time in weeks. How often do we need to do this? Jake asked. Every day. Maybe twice a day for the worst scars. I'll also need to make fresh medicine every few days. The plant chemicals lose their power if they sit too long. Jake looked at Lila's face. She looked tired, but also happy. Lila, this is going to take a lot of your time. Don't you have other work to do? This is my work now, she said. Helping you heal is the most important thing I can do. Every morning. After that, Lila came to Jake's room with fresh medicine. She would spend 2 or 3 hours carefully treating each of his scars. While she worked, they talked about many things. Jake told her about growing up on a farm on Earth. His family raised cows and grew corn. He had joined the military because he wanted to see other worlds and protect people who couldn't protect themselves. I always wanted to be a soldier, Jake said one day while Lila painted medicine on his face scars. Even when I was little, I played games where I was the hero, saving people from danger. You are a hero, Lila said. You saved my life and probably saved many other lives too. My research data is helping develop new medicines for colonists on dangerous worlds. Lila told Jake about her childhood too. She had grown up in a big city and always loved plants and flowers. Her parents thought she was strange because she spent more time in the greenhouse than with other children. I never had many friends, she admitted. I was always more interested in how things grew than in talking to people. But plants are easier to understand than people. They don't lie or hide their feelings. What do you mean? Jake asked. Plants show you exactly what they need. If they're sick, they change color. If they're happy, they grow strong and green. People are much more complicated. Jake thought about that. What do you think I need? Layla stopped painting medicine for a moment and looked at him. You need time to heal. Not just your scars, but your heart too. Being hurt so badly changes a person. You need someone who cares about you to help you remember that you're still the same good person inside. After a month of daily treatments, Jake's scars were looking much better. The angry red color was fading to pink and brown. The raised areas were getting flatter. Most importantly, the pain was almost completely gone. Dr. Price came to check on Jake's progress every few days. He was amazed by how well the alien plant medicine was working. This is incredible, he said, examining Jake's chest. I've never seen burns heal this well. Lila, you should write a report about this treatment. It could help many other injured soldiers. I will, Lila said. But first, I want to make sure Jake is completely healed." One day, while Lila was treating the scars on Jake's arms, she said something that surprised him. "I've been thinking about what I want to do after the war ends. I don't think I want to go back to just studying plants in a laboratory. I want to find ways to use them to help people who are hurt." "That sounds like a good plan," Jake said. "You're really good at helping people heal." "I learned something important from taking care of you," Lila said. "Science is not just about discovering new things. It's about using what you discover to make life better for others." Jake watched her work. Her hands were always gentle and sure. She never got impatient, even when the treatment took a long time. She cared about every small detail. "Lila, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why do you care so much about helping me?" "I mean, I know you're grateful that I protected you, but this is much more than just saying thank you." Lila stopped working and looked at him. Her cheeks turned a little red. "At first, it was because I felt guilty about your injuries. But now it's different." "How is it different?" "I care about you, Jake, not just as a patient, but as a person. You're kind and brave, and you make me laugh. When I see your scars getting better, it makes me happy. When you're in pain, it makes me sad." Jake felt his heart beat faster. "I care about you too, Lila. These past weeks, talking with you every day, watching you work so hard to help me. I've never met anyone like you." They looked at each other for a long moment. Then Lila smiled and went back to painting medicine on his scars. "We should focus on getting you completely healed first," she said. "Then we can talk about other things." But Jake could tell from the way she smiled that she was thinking about other things too. And for the first time since the battle, he started thinking about what his life might be like after his scars were gone. Maybe, if he was very lucky, Lila would want to be part of that life. 2 months had passed since Lila started the daily treatments. Jake stood in front of the mirror in his room, looking at his reflection. The angry red scars that had covered his body were now faint pink lines. Some were so light they were hard to see. The deep burns on his face had healed so well that only someone looking very closely would notice them. "I can't believe how good I look," Jake said as Lila entered his room with her medicine container. "I feel like myself again." Lila smiled and set down her supplies. "You look wonderful. But more importantly, how do you feel inside?" Jake thought about her question. Strong, ready to do things again. "For the first time since the battle, I feel like I could be a soldier again if I wanted to. Do you want to?" Lila asked as she began applying the medicine to his remaining scars. "I'm not sure. Part of me misses it. But part of me thinks maybe I want to try something different." While Lila worked on his scars, Jake's radio made a sound. Dr. Price's voice came through. "Jake, we have some new patients coming in. They were hurt in a battle with the Vextai. Their injuries are similar to what you had." Jake looked at Lila. "How many patients?" 12 soldiers, all with laser burns from Vextai weapons. The regular doctors don't know how to treat the crystal contamination." Lila stopped applying medicine. "I can help them. I have enough plant medicine for several people, and I can make more." "That's what I was hoping you'd say," Dr. Price replied. "But Jake, I was wondering if you might help too. These soldiers are scared and in pain. They might feel better talking to someone who went through the same thing." Jake had never thought about helping other patients before. "What would I do?" "Just talk to them. Tell them about your experience. Show them that they can get better. Sometimes hearing from someone who survived the same injury helps more than any medicine." An hour later, Jake walked into the medical bay where the new patients were lying in beds. Some of them looked worse than Jake had when he first arrived. Their burns were fresh and angry. The men and women were moaning with pain, and their faces showed fear and hopelessness, Jake approached the first bed. A young woman soldier was lying there with burns, covering her arms and neck. She looked up at him with tired eyes. "Hi, I'm Jake Martinez. I was hurt by Vextai weapons too, about 3 months ago." The woman stared at him. "You were? But you look normal." Jake rolled up his sleeves and showed her his arms. The scars were there, but they were light and didn't look painful. "I had burns much worse than yours. They covered my whole chest, my face, my legs. I thought I would never look normal again." "How did you heal so well?" she asked. Jake pointed to Lila, who was setting up her laboratory equipment nearby. Dr. Chun developed a special medicine using alien plants. It breaks down the crystals that Vextai weapons leave in your skin. She saved my life. Will she help me too? Yes, but I want you to know something. The healing takes time, and it takes patience. There were days when I wanted to give up, but Dr. Chun never gave up on me, and I won't give up on you either. Jake spent the next hour talking to each of the new patients. He told them about his injuries, his recovery, and how much better he felt now. He could see hope returning to their faces as they realized they might heal too. One of the patients was a young man named Pete Wilson. His burns were the worst of the group, covering most of his back and one side of his face. He was very scared and wouldn't talk to the doctors. "I look like a monster," Pete said when Jake sat down next to his bed. "My girlfriend won't want to see me like this." Jake understood exactly how Pete felt. "I thought the same thing. I was afraid to look in mirrors. I thought everyone would stare at me and feel sick. Don't they? No. People see your scars, but they also see your courage. You got those scars fighting to protect others. That makes you a hero, not a monster." Jake pulled out his phone and showed Pete some pictures. "These are photos of my scars when they were fresh. Look how bad they were." Pete looked at the pictures, then at Jake's face. "I can barely see your scars now. That's because Dr. Chun worked on them every single day for months. She never missed a treatment. She cared more about my healing than I did sometimes." Over the next few weeks, Jake came to the medical bay every day. While Lila treated the patients with her plant medicine, Jake talked to them and encouraged them. He helped them exercise when they were strong enough. He listened to their fears and worries. "You're really good at this," Lila told him one evening as they walked back to their rooms. "The patients trust you because you understand what they're going through. It feels good to help them," Jake said. "I never thought I would enjoy taking care of people as much as I enjoyed being a soldier. Maybe that's what you're meant to do now. Maybe your experience with being hurt can help you heal others." Jake thought about that idea. "What do you mean?" "I mean, maybe we could work together. I could teach other doctors how to make the plant medicine. You could help the patients feel hopeful and brave. We could start a program to help soldiers who are hurt by alien weapons." The idea excited Jake. "We could travel to different medical ships and colonies, wherever there are soldiers who need help." "Exactly. Your scars could become something good. Instead of just being marks of pain, they could be proof that healing is possible." As the weeks passed, Jake watched the new patients get better. Their burns healed just as well as his had. Pete Wilson's scars faded until he looked almost normal again. The woman soldier's arms healed completely. All 12 patients recovered much faster than anyone had expected. Dr. Price was amazed by the results. "Leela, your plant medicine is revolutionary. And Jake, your work with the patients has been just as important." They healed faster because they believed they would get better. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "Now we write reports and send them to medical command. They're going to want you both to teach other doctors and medics how to do what you've done." Here, that night, Jake and Lila sat together in the ship's observation deck, looking out at the stars. Jake's treatment was almost finished. His scars were so faint they were barely visible. More importantly, he felt strong and healthy again. Leela, I want to thank you for everything you've done for me. You don't need to thank me, Jake. Taking care of you has been the most important work of my life. Jake turned to look at her. I've been thinking about what you said, about us working together to help other soldiers. And I want to do it, but not just as work partners. Lila looked at him with a question in her eyes. I want us to be partners in everything, Jake said. I love you, Lila. I think I started falling in love with you the first day you put medicine on my scars. You saved my life, but more than that, you showed me what it means to really care about someone. Leela's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. I love you too, Jake. I think I fell in love with your courage first, but then I fell in love with your kindness and your strength. Jake reached over and took her hand. So we'll do this together? Help other soldiers heal? Yes, together. As they sat holding hands under the stars, Jake realized something wonderful. His scars had brought him the greatest gift of his life. Without them, he never would have met Lila. Without her dedication to healing him, they never would have fallen in love. His scars were no longer marks of pain. They were symbols of love, sacrifice, and hope. 6 months later, Jake stood on the landing platform of New Eden Colony, watching the transport ship fly away into the blue sky. The war with the Vextai had ended 3 weeks ago with a peace agreement. Both sides were tired of fighting and decided to share the galaxy instead of destroying each other. It's beautiful here, Lila said, walking up beside him. She was carrying a large bag full of her plant samples and research equipment. Look at all those flowers growing wild. I can't wait to study them. Jake smiled and picked up their other bags. And I can't wait to start the new training program. Colonel Davis says we'll have our first group of students next week. They walked through the colony town together. New Eden was a peaceful place with small houses, green gardens, and friendly people. It was very different from the military ships and battle stations where Jake had spent most of his adult life. The colony leaders had asked Jake to start a defense training program for the civilian population, not to prepare for war, but to teach people how to protect themselves and help others in emergencies. Jake would teach basic first aid, rescue techniques, and how to stay calm in dangerous situations. Lila had been invited to set up a research laboratory to study the local plants. Many colonists got sick from eating the wrong foods or touching dangerous plants. Leela's job was to find which plants were safe and which ones could be used as medicine. Their new home was a small house on the edge of town, near the forest where Lila would do most of her research. It had a big kitchen, too, bedrooms, and a front porch where they could sit and watch the sunset. This feels strange, Jake said as they unpacked their belongings. I've never lived in a real house before. Military barracks and spaceships don't have front porches. I've never shared a house with anyone before, Lila admitted. I hope I'm not too messy for you. Jake laughed. Lila, you spent 3 months organizing my medicine treatments down to the minute. I don't think you know how to be messy. That evening, they sat on their front porch drinking tea and watching the stars come out. Jake's scars were completely healed now. They were so faint that even he forgot about them most of the time. But sometimes he would touch one of the marks on his chest and remember everything that had happened. Do you ever regret it? Lila asked. Getting hurt to save me? Never, Jake said immediately. If I had to do it again, I would make the same choice. You've saved so many people with your medicine. Think about all the soldiers who are healthy now because of what you learned treating me. Lila had taught 12 other doctors how to make her plant medicine. They had treated over 200 injured soldiers in the last few months. Many of them would have lived with pain and ugly scars for the rest of their lives without her treatment. The Medical Command wants me to write a book about alien plant medicine, Lila said. They think it could help doctors all over human space. You should do it. You could save thousands of people. Only if you help me write it. Half of the healing process is what you did. Giving people hope and showing them they can get better. Medicine alone isn't enough. Jake thought about all the soldiers he had talked to over the past months. Some of them had healed faster than others, but the ones who did best were always the ones who believed they would get better. We make a good team, he said. Yes, we do. The next week, Jake's first class arrived. 15 colonists, mostly young men and women who wanted to learn how to help during emergencies. Jake taught them how to carry injured people safely, how to stop bleeding, and how to stay calm when others were panicking. The most important thing, Jake told his students, is never giving up on someone who needs help. Even if the situation looks hopeless, you keep trying. You never know what might be the difference between life and death. One of his students was a young woman named Kate Brown. She reminded Jake of Lila because she was very smart and asked lots of questions. Sergeant Martinez, Kate said after class one day, some people in town say you were badly hurt in the war. Is that true? Jake nodded. I was injured protecting someone I cared about. I had burns over most of my body, but you look fine, no? How did you heal? Jake smiled. My wife developed a special medicine using alien plants. But more importantly, she never gave up on me. She took care of me every single day until I was better. Your wife is a doctor? She's a scientist. But yes, she's also the best healer I've ever known. That evening, Jake told Lila about his conversation with Kate. I called you my wife today. I hope you don't mind. Lila looked up from the plant samples she was studying. I don't mind. But we should probably make it official soon. Jake felt his heart start beating faster. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying we should get married, Jake Martinez. We've been through everything together. We've seen each other at our worst and our best. I can't imagine spending my life with anyone else. Jake got down on one knee beside her chair. Lila Chun, will you marry me? Yes, she said, and kissed him. They planned a simple wedding for the next month. Jake invited his military friends who were stationed nearby. Lila invited the doctors and scientists she had worked with. But the guests they were most excited about were the soldiers they had helped heal. Pete Wilson came with his girlfriend, who loved him just as much as before his injuries. The woman soldier Jake had first talked to brought her whole family. All 12 of the patients they had treated together came to celebrate with them. These people are our real family, Lila said as they watched their wedding guests talking and laughing together. We're connected by more than just friendship. We're connected by healing and hope. The wedding ceremony was held in the colonies. Main garden, surrounded by the flowers and plants that Lila loved so much. Jake wore his dress military uniform, and Lila wore a simple white dress with flowers in her hair. Colonel Davis, who had become a good friend, performed the ceremony. Jake and Lila, he said, your love story began with sacrifice and healing. Jake was willing to sacrifice his body to protect Lila. Lila was willing to sacrifice her time and knowledge to heal Jake. That kind of love, where each person puts the other first, is what makes marriages last forever. When it was time for vows, Jake spoke first. Lila, you saved my life, but more than that, you taught me what love really means. Love means never giving up on someone, even when things look hopeless. Love means working every day to help the person you care about become their best self. I promise to love you that way for the rest of my life. Lila wiped tears from her eyes before speaking. Jake, you showed me what courage looks like. Real courage isn't just being brave in battle. It's being willing to trust someone else to take care of you when you're hurt and scared. It's being willing to help others, even when you're still healing yourself. I promise to be worthy of your courage and to love you with the same strength you've shown me. After the ceremony, they had a party that lasted until late at night. The soldiers told stories about Jake's bravery and Lila's kindness. The colonists welcomed them as part of their community. Everyone agreed it was the best wedding New Eden had ever seen. As Jake and Lila danced together under the stars, Jake looked at his wife's face and felt complete happiness. His scars had brought him the greatest gift possible, a woman who loved him enough to spend months healing his wounds and the rest of her life sharing his dreams. "What are you thinking about?" Lila asked. "I'm thinking about how lucky I am. Getting hurt was the best thing that ever happened to me." "How can you say that?" "Because it brought me to you. And because our scars, yours are invisible, but they're from taking care of me. They're proof of what humans can do for each other. We can sacrifice for love. We can heal with patience. We can make something beautiful out of something painful." Lila smiled and pulled him closer. "I love you, Jake Martinez." "I love you too, Mrs. Martinez." As they danced, the wind carried the scent of alien flowers through the garden. Tomorrow they would start their new life together, helping others and building something good in a peaceful world. But tonight, they were just two people who had found perfect love in the most unlikely place. Jake's scars had become their foundation, proof that some wounds, when tended with enough love and care, can heal into something stronger and more beautiful than what came before.